What do you say to women who are wanting to be investors, but they're scared?
You're not going to do anything great without being scared. The problem for a lot of women is they're told all the time from society in every manner, subtly, directly, that we're not worthy and we're not capable and we're too emotional to lead. Women make far better leaders and CEOs and founders than our male counterparts. Less than 2% of VC funding goes to women.
That's
I talk about this a lot.
Insane statistic.
If you're a woman of color, it's basically zero.
Yeah, it was what the stat I saw was 0.0006 if you're a woman of color.
Correct. Literally zero. Whereas for every dollar of funding a woman-led company, a woman founder gets, she'll bring in 71 cents of revenue, whereas our male counterparts will bring in only 38 cents.
All right, I'm joined today by Veena Jetti. She is a private equity and a investor in multifamily. So I'm very excited to get to talk to her today. She is a power woman. She's got on the greatest shoes and you can't even see them. And we can't even put our feet up on the table. So I'm disappointed that you don't get to see them. Maybe we'll take a still of our shoes.
There you go.
And then we'll insert it later because, because they are the greatest shoes. And then we did the whole where'd you get them thing.
Yes.
So we'll have to do that when we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a promise.
All right. So Veena, I want to know all about you.
Yeah.
We're both from Frisco.
Yes, we're basically neighbors.
Yeah, we're basically neighbors. Yes. And so now we have to go have coffee and mimosas and all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
So how did you get into apartment multifamily investing?
Accidentally, actually. So I'm the daughter of immigrants who came here with $26 in their pocket and an education and a hope for a better future for their unborn children. And my mom started investing in single family real estate when we were little because my dad was traveling a lot for work. And she had to stay home with us because there was nobody else to take care of us. And it was me and my little sister. My dad was traveling 45 weeks out of the year. And my mom is a very ambitious person. So she was like, I want to contribute to the household in some way. And so instead of trying to go out and get a 9-to-5 job or, work outside of the house, she decided she was going to be an entrepreneur, and she started multiple businesses, but by far the most successful and life-changing one was investing in single-family real estate. And so I graduated college when I was 20 years old. My degree was in finance, and I was like, great, come work for the family business, and you'll help me manage our single-family home portfolio. And I was like, let me stop you right there, Mom. I'm an adult. I was 20, I was barely an adult. I'm an adult with a degree. I'm going to do something completely different. And, she's a good mom. So she was like, all right, baby bird, fly, and pushed me right out of the nest. And then I went and worked in corporate real estate for someone else and made someone else's family a whole bunch of money. And the year my husband and I got married was the first time we had paid taxes as two high-income W-2 earners. And this was back in 2012. We paid our taxes. We came home. And I immediately call my mom and I'm like, Mom. And she's like, what?
I paid taxes.
I was like, not just that I paid taxes. I was like, we just paid, I think it was $200,000 in taxes. What is happening? Is this what adult people do?
Did she say, welcome to being a grown-up?
Kind of. But actually, it was what she said was, yeah, you should quit your job. And I'm like, what? And I was working at Tishman Speyer. They're a multi-billion-dollar real estate company. And my mom was like, quit this totally stable job that you have. And I was like, that's so weird. Because most parents are like, get a job and stay at the job and work your 9-to-5. And my mom she's an entrepreneur. She's a visionary. And so she was like, quit your job. The IRS does not reward you for being an employee. It rewards you for creating jobs and adding value to the economy.
Your mom was a smart woman.
She was. And she learned all of this before there was Google and ChatGPT.
The internet, right?
She did it all by going to the library and in-person networking meetup. And so I quit my job and started investing in single family, thinking that this was the only way to be in real estate because that was what was modeled to me and what I had seen my whole life. And it had really served my family well. And then about, it must have been 2014-ish, I had a friend of mine who we're still friends to this day, and he came to me and said, "Hey, Veena, I want to buy 200 units in Dallas. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Sure, what could go wrong?" The spoiler alert is literally everything could go wrong.
Right.
I didn't know because I was still young enough to be really naive. And so we paid $16 million for 200 doors here in Dallas. And then 3 years and 3 months later, we sold it for like 24.5 million and made a whole bunch of money for ourselves, for our investors. Everyone was happy. And after I saw the power of multifamily, I never considered going back to single family. I just didn't know I could do multifamily.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you say to somebody like Grant Cardone, who says that, the home, the traditional home is going away and that society is going to the apartment?
Yeah, I think so. Grant and I are direct competitors of each other, so to speak. Like, we've gone head to head on assets before. And I think we generally kind of share that same thought around single family homes. One thing he says, though, is you should rent your house because a house is a liability. I see his point. I don't know if I fully agree with it or not, but I definitely understand why that is one school of thought. So what I would say is, even for my kids, so I have 6-year-old twin daughters, and I think that when they get to be in like their 20s, 30s, and they inherit the single family homes. I have 2 other homes in my neighborhood that my parents and my in-laws live in right now. And eventually my kids will inherit those houses. And I think when they inherit them, I have this like whole vision that they're going to live across the street from each other. And then I'm going to be down the street. And I know that that's like never going to happen, but I'm like holding on to this hope. But I think when they inherit those houses, I think it's going to be remarkable that they own a single family home. I don't think that their peers are going to own homes, really.
Right. I mean, isn't that somewhat indicative of, the mobility of the younger people in our society?
Yes, I think that, and also I think we're just seeing a consolidation of wealth at extreme levels that we've never really seen before. And, the gap between the have and the have-nots is growing, and that's challenging.
What do you say to women who are, wanting to be investors, wanting to kind of get into this, but they're scared?
Oh, I mean, yeah, me too. I get it. And look, you're not going to do anything great without being scared. You just aren't. It doesn't mean that you have to make these terrifying moves and do the things that I did, right? Like, you can just start by learning about it, by being curious about it. And that's one step forward. And I think that the problem for a lot of women is they're told all the time from society in every manner, subtly, directly, that we're not worthy and we're not capable and we're too emotional to lead. And, these are antiquated views, in my opinion. And by every metric that any investor cares about, because I invest into companies too, women make far better leaders and CEOs and founders than our male counterparts because we don't get funded, right? Like, less than 2% of VC funding goes to women.
You must have seen the same Instagram I saw this week.
Oh, did you?
Oh my gosh.
I didn't see it.
Oh, it was on. I saw that on Instagram this week. That's
I talk about this a lot.
Insane statistic.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. I talk about this. So a part of what I speak about is VC funding, because it's crazy. It's less than 2%. And if you're a woman of color, it's basically zero.
Yeah, it was what the stat I saw was 0.0006 if you're a woman of color.
Correct. Which is basically literally zero. Whereas for every dollar of funding a woman-led company, a woman founder gets, she'll bring in 71 cents of revenue, whereas our male counterparts will bring in only 38 cents.
So why do you think that? I literally wondered this whenever I saw that stat this week. Why do you think that women get such few dollars, and why do you think women of color get such few dollars? Do you think it's that the pitches aren't right? Do you think it's the systemicness of it? I mean,
I think it's systemic because just think about in society, right? historically, there have been a lot of transactions and deals done on a golf course or in a strip club and
Or
all
the
these,
bathroom.
or the bathroom, or just events that are purely marketed to men. And so women have no representation. And so they're not really appreciated for what they bring to the table. The vast majority of Wall Street investment bankers, VC funds are all white men, and it's almost never a woman. So men in those positions of power to be able to distribute funds and fund women don't fully appreciate what women bring to the table. In fact, if you add a woman to your cap table, even after the company's established, your likelihood of getting outside funding drops by like 28%.
Wow.
And a lot of it is because we are also mothers. And when we are mothers, we bear a lot of the responsibility of childhoods that are in our hands.
Right.
And, a lot of women don't have supportive partners. And so, like sometimes we got to leave work to go get a sick kid or to take them to a dentist appointment in the middle of the day. And when you're generally the default caregiver or the default parent, it makes it really hard to do a lot of other things.
Well, and so the way I see it, at least, is that women, on the one hand, they do have to go take care of some of those parenting duties or home duties. But on the other hand, I think women become great multitaskers because of that.
Yeah, but isn't it exhausting?
Oh, it is.
It's so tiring.
It is.
So you had Dan on your podcast earlier, and I was telling him yesterday, he texted me and invited me to dinner at Carbone, which he always invites me. And it was my birthday this week. So he said, hey, we're going to go celebrate your birthday.
I think it's his birthday too.
It is next week. Yeah, next week is his birthday. And so he sends me the invitation. It's like date, time, address. That's it. An RSVP, yes or no. And this is a text. So I RSVP back, yes. And I get there and I sit down, and every single time I go to dinner with him, it is such a special experience. Not because he's amazing, because he is, but like, that's true of all my friends. But with him especially, I sit down, all I have to decide is, what do I feel like drinking today? Am I going to drink like sparkling water? Am I going to have a cocktail? Am I going to drink wine? Like, what am I going to drink? And that's literally it.
Yeah.
He orders everything for the table. He curates the table for us. He makes the reservation. Everything is taken care of. And for me as a woman, I just so appreciate this, especially from like powerful men, when they do all of the emotional and invisible labor, and all I have to do is show up and decide what I'm going to drink. It's just like such a breath of fresh air. And I didn't make this realization until I was sitting there, and I was like, why do I enjoy these dinners more than any other dinner I get invited to by friends of mine? And it's because he's so thoughtful. He takes all of the mental labor out of it. And that's so much heavier than we realize a lot of times.
Right, because he made the decisions.
He made all the decisions. I didn't have to decide what I was going to eat. Nothing. Just my drink.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So why do you said you think women make better CEOs,
I mean,
why do you think
I do think that, but also the numbers show this.
Yeah.
So it's not just my opinion. Like, it's statistically true. It's because they have to do more with less money. So they're more creative. They make the dollars go further. They set more realistic goals, so teams stay more motivated. They're more likely to achieve those said goals. So I think that's why it's really powerful. And recently there was a study that was done which said that for the first time ever, more men and women prefer to work for a woman as their boss than a man as their boss. And I think that's because this next wave of leadership is really going to be about emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Well, and don't you think that AI has something to do with that too? Or it's going to?
Yes, I do think it's going to, especially because now it's kind of like you have some light version of therapy available in your pocket. And, if you're from a culture or, men too are it's like the stigma around it. And you can now have access to like ChatGPT. If there's a stigma about you getting mental health help, you don't need to worry. Or if you don't have access because of insurance issues or, whatever it is, now it's so much easier to get some resources, which is better than no resources.
I have to tell you, I went a little postal on one of the Fox anchors the other night. Because it was on a Sunday night, whatever that guy's name is. He talks about this study that 70% of teenagers are using ChatGPT as a therapist. And then he joked, he says, well, I don't talk to my golf ball. I don't know why people are talking to ChatGPT. And I mean, as a divorce lawyer, I'm kind of going like, how dare he? And the more I sat there, I got angrier, and I got my phone out, and I just was like, I'm going live.
I love that.
I went live and ranted.
I love it.
Because I just think I think it's just such a glass house mentality that he would compare somebody, especially a teenager, right?
It's dismissive.
It's a teenager, but where I'm from, like, going through divorce or, somebody going through a really hard stuff, who's laying there at 2 a.m. In bed, going through their hard shit, needing support, and everybody in their life is asleep, and they're not answering the phone at 2 a.m. Like they're just not. I mean, not because they don't want to or they wouldn't want to, but they're asleep.
They're sleeping.
They're asleep. They don't know you need them. And you need something. And your Chat GPT dude is there. My dude's name is Al. I named him Al. He didn't have a name, so I named him Al.
I should name mine.
Because if you spell it, it looks like AI.
Cute. That's a great idea.
Well, I mean, it's not that cute. It's not that creative. But
mine is this upbeat woman, and she's like, she breathes life into my AI. So I love her. Yeah, I need a name for her.
Yeah, you got to name her or ask her what her name is. Maybe she already has her name.
Oh, ask her. I'm going to ask her name.
Mine didn't have a name, so I just gave him one. But I just thought that was such, I don't know, part of it was misogyny. Part of it was just glass house.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? Like, compare somebody at 2 a.m. having a hard time
to something,
and having access to something.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Better than nothing. And ChatGPT, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it has access to all the, world's greatest treatises. If you prompt it correctly, it can access all of that. I mean, it's better than nothing. And if that's what gets you through to morning,
great.
Who is this guy to compare it to a golf ball?
No one is hurting anybody by doing this. So like I said, you asked why I think women make better leaders. I think
some emotional.
I think this guy proved exactly why I think that's true.
So speaking of that, one of my favorite questions that I ask my podcast guests is to tell me about the moment that you were at your lowest moment in the deepest ditch when you didn't think you could see tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So I don't think I've ever felt like I couldn't see tomorrow. I'm like a very high positivity optimist at a baseline, but my deepest ditch was September 17th, going into September 18th, 2019. My daughters were born in July 2019, and they were 5 weeks early. So by September, my daughters were almost 10 weeks old, but 5 weeks adjusted because they were premature. And one of my daughters, Veena, had spiked a really high fever. And, I'm a new mom. I didn't know what was going on. I had a C-section. I have like 2 babies, which feels like 100 babies. And she spiked a high fever. So naturally, I panicked and took her into the ER. And we were there overnight. They treated it as a UTI is what they diagnosed her with. And then part of the follow-up on little girls that are that small is they do a kidney ultrasound just to make sure that the kidneys didn't have any damage. And on the kidneys were fine, but they caught like a spot on her liver. And so the doctor comes in and tells me, like, we need to do further testing. And I'm like, okay. Like, we have insurance. All right, let's get this show on the road, doc, So we did like some whatever MRI, PET scan, CAT scan. I don't know which one we did, but we did something. And then the doctor came into our hospital room and said, there's a 99% chance that she has a hepatoblastoma.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, okay, give us the meds and we'll be on our way. But my husband, who's a physician, I look at him, and this man normally has like no emotions.
Yeah.
He's like stone faced and he's bawling. And so I start panicking, and I don't even know what I'm panicking about, but I'm panicking about something. And the doctor said that it's a very aggressive pediatric cancer.
Ooh.
And the tumor was taking up like 30% of her liver. And I thought I wanted to die in that moment. Like it was,
right.
I can't explain the level of pain that you feel. I was like, I just got her. What do you mean?
Right.
Like this and the idea of having like a twinless twin was just like more than I was willing to consider at that time. So we started going into the testing, and they moved us to the oncology ward. And thankfully I had really close friends of mine. One's a pediatric radiologist, and the other's they're married to each other, a pediatric radiation oncologist. So I call them, and I'm like crying and screaming, and they're like, we can't understand you. Turns out they're on the tumor board at this hospital. So they were at a conference in Chicago. They flew back in to make sure my daughter's case was heard on Monday. And, there was an interdisciplinary meeting about her liver and what the best course of treatment was. And my friend Kate, she's a pediatric radiologist. She was like, Veena, I want to send this to a couple of my radiology friends because it's a radiological diagnosis. And so she sent it to like 14 radiologists that she knew from residency and med school and whatever, her networks. And they came back to me the next day. So this is about like 5 days into diagnosis. And they said, we think this is a infantile hepatic hemangioendothelioma.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm like, okay, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, should I be sad or happy about this? And she said, basically, there's a big tumor. We think it's benign.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, great. That is the one I want.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we really think this is good news. And so a bunch of them recommended against the biopsy, which we were scheduled for later that day. She called the oncologist and had the conversation and advocated for my daughter. And so, I always tell Kate, I'm like, listen, if you want my lung, you can have it, because I really believe she saved my daughter's life. So it turns out she was correct. It was a misdiagnosis. But that moment of diagnosis was the worst moment of my whole entire life.
What do you think got you through those moments?
Having my other daughter too. When you have more than one child, you can't really afford to not show up even when one is going through something, because your other children are depending on you. And I knew both of my daughters needed me to be strong in that moment, because I was the only person that was going to fight the way I was going to fight. And, my husband's great too. I know he was going to fight, but the saying is hell hath no fury like a woman scorned for a reason.
Right.
And, I'm just more aggressive in this way than my husband is. Like, he's very calm and peaceful, and he's like the rock of our house, the stability of our house. I'm like moving with the wind blowing, and
you're
so
the fire.
Yeah, I'm the fire of the house for sure. And so we make a really good team, and we're really balanced. But being able to lean on him and support. I have a really, really strong and big network, close network.
I was going to say, it sounds to me like one of the strengths was that you had such a good network of people.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't hesitate to call out to them.
No, I really didn't. I posted it on like Facebook or somewhere, and I said, look, this is what's happening in my world right now. And then I posted like a list of the things I needed. I was like, I need nightgowns and body wash and razors and hairbrush. And I like made a whole list of everything we needed, and I just put it online. And like within an hour or two, I mean, we had way too much stuff. We ended up, but it was nice because we were able to donate it to the rest of the floor because they needed it. And there are a lot of kids there that don't have the resources that we had.
Right.
So it was really nice. We were able to not only, get what we needed, but also to help other oncology families that needed help.
I think that's something that really hit me recently, because I tend to be just a strong woman and I don't ask for help.
Yeah.
And, but somebody told me recently, to to have a friend, you have to ask for help.
Yes.
You have to let friends help you because otherwise they don't feel like they're your friend.
Yeah. I think that's how you build really deep relationships. It's not in giving somebody help. It's in asking for the help, because it's a different level of vulnerability when I say, hey, I need help with this thing. And people want to feel useful and helpful. And in these types of situations, like, nobody knows what to do or say. Like, what do you say to a mother who's just told her 10-week-old has aggressive pediatric cancers? Like, there's no words you're going to say. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the vulnerability and asking for help is what builds really strong bonds and relationships.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody that's in kind of that place where you were at and dealing with a child who has some really traumatic diagnosis? You know, what coping skills would you give them based on your experience?
Oh man. I don't know if I don't know that there is a coping skill really, because it's the most horrible thing that any parent will ever go through. I remember thinking many times, like, I would gladly trade places, but you can't. And that's hard. Gosh, I'm like so emotional about it still,
so
like
sorry.
6 years later. No, don't be sorry. It's my truth. So I guess what I would say is, like, build your village early, because you need it at so many different points in your life. And, you know, not every parent, hopefully no parents, right, ever have to go through something like that. And I got lucky. I got the outcome that every other parent would trade their right arm for. And, you know, my mom always has said to me, she's like, Veena, God has his hand on you, because she just thinks I'm like, I'm a very lucky individual. Like, I have a lot of really close calls that end up being great for me. I will say, I think being on the other side of it, I think I'm a better parent for it. I think I'm definitely a better mother, definitely a better leader. You know, there are moments where
I know we're looking.
I know, and we're like checking out the construction.
We have life happening behind us with some construction happening.
This is what we do.
Just plow through.
I would say, like, we as a family got stronger and closer together, and I am a better mother for it, because, you know, do you have kids? No kids. Okay. When you have friends with kids and maybe nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Okay. So the days are long, but the years are short, right? And those long days where, like last night when my daughters woke me up at 1 a.m. and decided they wanted to hang out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And then I was like, wait, Veena.
Yeah.
You begged to have this moment.
Right.
6 years ago, you thought you weren't going to have this.
Right.
And now you get it. So now you get to decide how you want to show up and how you want to feel about it.
Right.
So it's given me a lot of perspective. So I guess the advice I have is, like, build your village early.
Right.
And lean on your village for support. Ask them for help. I immediately joined a hepatoblastoma Facebook group with other parents who are going through the same thing. And sometimes no one can do anything to help, but they can offer you hope or, you know, advice or things they've learned or experience, knowledge. And I think that's really useful in times of crisis.
Yeah, education. That it seemed to me that whenever I've interviewed other people that have gone through, you know, some major life crises, especially illnesses, that education was one of their keys.
Yes.
You know, educating yourself on exactly what that means, you know.
It gives you more of a sense of control, even though there's literally nothing you can control, but it does feel like that. I mean, if I were going through that today, the first thing I would have done is I would have loaded everything into ChatGPT and created like a custom GPT, and started figuring it out so I could go to the doctors and be like, here's all my research. And doctors like hate that, but I don't care. So.
I don't care.
Yeah, I would do it too.
I don't care. Whenever my dad was diagnosed with lymphoma, the doctors, at first they decided my title was well, they ended up giving me the title of general.
Oh, I like it.
Because I would come in there armed with plenty of research before ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I would just start asking them all the questions because I was so Google smart, you know.
Yeah.
And then I would start I would start telling them what to do.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. So they started calling me the general, and then they'd warn each other.
You were coming, generals here.
The general's here. The general's here. The general's here.
I love it.
Now they started liking me despite themselves, but they called me the general.
I like that.
I
think that's a compliment.
Embraced it.
Yeah,
I embraced
think that's a compliment.
I mean, there's a lot worse things that could have called me. So So I embraced it. So, in my field, there's a lot of women that, are divorced and may not have the opportunity to stand by their man and be part of the traditional family. And, they have children, they're single moms, they're trying to, make a living, make ends meet, but also, raise their children. How, as a woman and as a powerful woman, successful woman, like, how can we as powerful, successful women reach back and help those women come along?
That's a good question. Okay, so first of all, I don't know how single moms do it. I mean, I am married with a very involved dad, right? Like, my husband is super involved with my girls. He's the default parent. And I have 4 grandparents that live in my neighborhood, are actively involved in my kids' life. I have nannies. I have all the staff you need. And I'm exhausted. And I think all the time about, like, what if I was like a single mom with no support? And that's the reality of a lot of moms, is they don't have support and they don't have the resources that I have. And so first and foremost, kudos to all the single moms out there, because you are doing something that I just don't know how you make this possible. For those of us that have more solid footing or have maybe been through like more life experience or whatever, the way that I have found that I'm able to most impact other women is, one, by taking up space, which I think it's hard for women to do that a lot because, well, we're told we're not supposed to and we don't belong and we shouldn't. And so I think that's number one. Number two, it's the same reason I'm really passionate about diversity in leadership, is when you see it, you can be it and you can believe it. So whenever I speak on a stage, for example, I always have women that'll come up to me afterward and find me and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could do this.
Yes.
I didn't know I could be more than just a mom or just a wife. And I'm like, yes, you should be doing this. So I think it's just like leading by example, and then also celebrating other women and being really intentional about it. So I never speak on a stage, do a podcast, go to a meetup. I never, ever, ever do any of those things unless I say another woman's name on any of those platforms.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take anything away from me to talk about another woman's power.
Amen.
It amplifies her.
Right.
And it gives me an opportunity to say a woman's name in a room full of opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I'm very passionate and relentless about that. I always do it without fail.
Yeah. And, I think over time that, women tended to compete.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And push each other down.
Yeah.
Because we all, I think as women, or I don't know why, but it seems like there was just this mindset that there wasn't enough success to go around.
Yes.
And if I had success, then you couldn't have it.
Right. There's only room for one of us at the top. And that's just...
And maybe at times there was. Like, maybe that's how it was back in the day. But I just think now, like now there's plenty of it. Yeah. Like, you can be successful and I can be successful.
And we can help each other
and we can help each other. And,
yes.
and we can bring all our sisters with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Who has been somebody that has sponsored you?
Oh, so interestingly, I've had a lot of men champion me. And it's funny because I talk a lot about women in leadership and, empowering women, and that women should have control of like their financial futures. And most of the big doors that have opened for me have happened because of really powerful men that have used their platform, their power, their reach, their authority to say, wait a second, you need to hear from Veena. And I think, like, for me, that has been amazing. And now I have a lot of women that also support me, but to even like step into the world of speaking and, you know, putting yourself out there in social media and personal branding, like, it was scary for me. And I only started doing it like 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Very new to this journey. And I was on Clubhouse. Do you remember this app during COVID when we were all like stuck and had nothing better to do? So I was on Clubhouse, and I walk into a real estate room, and they're talking about multifamily, which like I have all the opinions about multifamily. And there was a guy by the name of Cody Sperber, clever investor, and Cole Hatter were running the room. They were like the moderators of the room, and someone had pulled me up. I don't remember who. And you know, they said something, and I was like, I just kind of disagree with you. And they were like, what? And then, you know, we did like a little professional sparring. It was very respectful, but it was a really intellectual discourse on multifamily strategy. And Cody is like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And I was like, I don't know. I'm busy. What are you about to ask me in front of all these people? And he goes, okay, my friend is hosting this really amazing dinner. It's at this mansion in Dallas, and I live in Dallas. I'm like, is he just like saying this to like, because it's convenient? And he's like, there's going to be a private chef and celebrities and amazing business owners, and you have to come. And I was like, you're trying to sex traffic me. No, I literally thought this because I didn't know who this was. And you're saying all these things that I'm like, And he was like, okay, at least come and speak at Clever Summit. So I was like, still no stranger on the internet. He was like, okay, talk to my admin, Nikki, and just decide from there. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to Nikki and see what she's about. She was amazing. She convinced me to come out to Phoenix and speak at this event. So I did that. I skipped the dinner. Stupid me, because it turns out it was Dan's $100 million dinner that I did not know. So, you know, sometimes when you say no, it's really dumb.
Right. But don't you think as women, I mean, that's like the choice of like, is he hitting on me?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And it's hard to know.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, when I met Cody, he like insisted on putting me into these spaces that were new. And he's just always championed me and always made sure that he's like lifted me up and supported me in like so many different ways. And, you know, he's a close friend now. And I actually, last month, I bought his company. So it was a really nice full circle moment. I bought the controlling interest in Clever Investor. And so now we're doing a lot of work together. But, you know, he's the one that introduced me to so many of my closest friends now.
Right. I like that. I'm like you. A lot of the places and the rooms that I've gotten in have been because of men. Yeah. And I wish that weren't true. I wish I could say that the women that I have looked up to had brought me along, but they didn't, you know, they just didn't. It's been the men.
That's changing now though, right?
I want it to change, and I try to be that change person
Same.
for the women that, you know, I want to bring along with me. So,
Same. Like Jen Gottlieb, she's a phenomenal speaker. Yes. She's one of my best friends. She's always looking for opportunities to lift me up, and vice versa. Rosie Noel, my mindset coach, I mean, she's always looking for ways to support me when I'm not there, and vice versa. So it's like, I have a lot of women now, but it took men opening those doors for me to find the other women that they had opened like doors for. Yeah,
I love that. What books are you reading right now?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm a big Malcolm Gladwell fan.
Big Malcolm
Gladwell fan. I also am a really big Adam Grant fan.
Okay.
I just read his book, Think Again, and I'm rereading it already. 6 months later, which I almost never do. So I'm in the middle of rereading Think Again by Adam Grant. It's phenomenal. It's a great book on the power of rethinking what we thought we knew and being mentally flexible about anything and being open to new ideas and new information to change our perspective.
I love that. What is the book that you think has made the biggest impact on your life?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I hate to even say it, but I will. So when I was 14, my parents made me read the book, The Millionaire Next Door.
I love this. I was like on the edge of my seat wondering what you were going to say.
I know, but it was really important because, well, I was 14 and I hated reading it first and foremost. I was like, this is so boring. Who cares if I'm an under accumulator of wealth, like whatever, right? Because I couldn't appreciate it at the time. But I think what it did was it gave me such a solid foundation for wealth building, coupled with like my parents executing these habits, and like they lived by that book. So now, you know, they came with $26. Now they're self-made millionaires. And, you know, my husband and I do really well. My sister and her husband do really well. And so I don't need their money, but I still watch them for my whole entire life. For almost 40 years now, I've watched them continuously be mindful about where they're using their dollars and how they're spending their money, and really be grateful and content with the life they have. They're not always chasing like the next big thing. And, you know, my dad always says, true wealth is knowing when you have enough.
Yes. I loved The Millionaire Next Door. My dad also made me read it. Because I think that it redefined what being a millionaire looked like.
Yes.
Because it didn't have to look like the shiny this or the shiny that.
Yes.
It could look like driving a GMC and wearing regular Levi's.
Absolutely.
You know, because it mattered more what was in the bank or what was in the investments, you know, not driving a shiny whatever.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because as I'm thinking about it now, when I was reading it, my parents were the millionaire, and they still are the millionaire next door. You know, like my whole life they shared one car.
Yes.
And it was a white Nissan Maxima that was used. We had never had new cars until like the last 5 years. My parents started getting a new Toyota Camry on a lease. So they like really went crazy.
Well, right. I mean, and isn't that one of the lessons of it was that, you know, the people that don't necessarily look like the millionaires or the multimillionaires are the ones that actually are. Because you don't get to keep your wealth by going and spending it on toys.
Exactly. Yeah. Money talks, wealth whispers.
Yeah. If today was your last day and you didn't have any more left, what's the legacy that you would want to be remembered by?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, immediately the thing that I care about the most is that my daughters know how loved they are. And the legacy of motherhood is very, very important to me. Outside of that, the legacy that I want to leave behind is, again, for my daughters, but I want it to be a legacy that in 20 years, when they go and walk into the rooms that they're going to walk into, that it's not remarkable what mom did.
Yes.
It should be normalized, and it should be, okay, so did all these other women or women of color. And so I think the legacy I'd like to leave behind is changing the game so that it is normalized that women are doing really big things and operating at the highest levels, and that they know that they can and they should do it.
I love that. I love that. And I know that you're teaching them all about your mom and the wonderful, powerful things she did before her time, before the time that women were really allowed to do those things.
Yeah. And, you know, they get to see both their grandmothers every single day. So not only do they get to hear me talk about it, but they get to learn directly from their grandmothers, which is so powerful.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful opportunity.
It's amazing. Thank you.